Welcome to Theological Grazing. There is such a thing as, I think, soul-destroying work. Work that is not something that adds at all or helps a growth in one's soul, and soul enriching work, right? Something that is in line with how you are made. It's in line with how God has made you as someone in His image. And I want to talk a little bit about this. It's maybe something I'll talk about more in the future. It's something I meditate on, think about a little bit now and then. I want to be careful, though, as I start to maybe add some, caveats. The way I'm using these words, I don't mean that, there's certain kinds of work that, destroy your humanity or something like that. I do think that there are things you can do that are a kind of attack on your humanity. But in an ultimate sense, who you are as God defines it cannot be taken away, no matter what happens to you in this life. And so I want to make that very clear. I'm not saying something like your soul can disappear, or you can have your, the imago Dei taken away. That's not what I'm saying. I do believe that those things can be attacked in some way, though, or you can live in such a way that, brings a kind of abundant life to your soul, versus living in such a way that, your soul, your very life, it's just hanging on, I want to be clear that under grace, there is a very clear understanding that not all parts of the law are equal, that some are weightier than others. And for instance, there are going to be certain kinds of work that maybe they are not the most soul-enriching types of work, but you have to do them in order to provide, in order to sustain yourself, or more importantly, to sustain others, to care for, a wife or children, for family in some way. These are not bad things, right? There are weightier matters of the law, and in a sinful world, there are going to be times that you have to make decisions where you are seeking to obey the higher commands. What I do think, though, is that there are kinds of work that run along the grain of reality that are what we are made for as people, to take dominion, to rule over creation, to work within creation, but over the rest of creation as God's vice regents in the world. And I think when we find those things, when we do those kinds of work, I think that it brings so much blessing and fruit. It's so good for us, right? It's good for our souls. We grow in our knowledge and understanding of who we are, who others are, who God is, and we bear fruit because of it. One of the reasons that I've thought about this is I've thought about, those types of work, like, say, being in some kind of factory where you are treated like one piece in machinery. So, maybe you are, working in an industrial butcher shop. And when I say butcher shop, I shouldn't say butcher shop. I mean like one of these industrial meat processing plants. And all you're doing is, you do this one cut. You cut off, the hindquarters on this cow. And that's what you do. That's all you do. You do that, and then you move to the next one, and you do that, and you move to the next one, and you do that all day, every day. So you're not attached to, where this begins. You're not attached to the whole of the process, the art of the process of butchery. You think about it with any kind of, manufacturing today. You're manufacturing a car. You're not you're not actively involved with various different parts of the vehicle. Maybe if you're an engineer, and you're kind of working from start to finish with the initial design and then trying to work out the issues, and then finally you get to see the finished product and test it. Maybe there's some people that do that, and I would put that in a different category. But when you're just one person on an assembly line, for instance, this is something that I think your work is not, I do not believe that it will seem that fulfilling, because I think it's a kind of soul-destroying work. This endless, monotonous, same thing over and over and over and over again, and you don't get to engage in the whole of the process. Now again, let me reiterate, sometimes that's necessary. We live in a fallen world, and there's going to be times that you have to do things that, they're not the best thing, and they're not ideal, and that's okay. I'm not saying that somebody that works on a factory line is in sin. And I'm not saying that some people might find it more, personally fulfilling in a certain way than others. They might enjoy certain parts of that. My guess is that the vast majority of people do not like that, because I don't think it fits with our nature as people. I think there is supposed to be a certain aspect of ownership, of dominion, again, this idea of standing over something and being the one responsible for something. There are elements of creativity that I think we're made to have as we image God. And when we are not able to express those things or take part in those things, I think it does a detriment to how we see ourselves, how we see the world, how we understand the world that God has made. I think it can be really damaging. And that's what I mean by soul destroying. I think it can be soul destroying in that way. And so what I think is, ideal in a sinful world where soul destroying work is going to be a part of what all of us do. We all have to do things that are not ideal. They're not how they should be. But I do think that we should be seeking out how might we personally try to find those things which are soul enriching. And I don't just mean I like to do this. Because there's going to be things that are soul enriching, I think, that aren't necessarily, I really love every moment of this work. I want to make a distinction there. But I do think that we should be seeking out, how do I find those things that would be soul enriching, that I'm made for, right? That fit with what I'm made for, where I'm not just a piece in a larger machinery, but I am a person made in God's image, taking dominion over a sector of His created world, that I might, bear responsibility for it, that I might then present it to Him and honor Him and love my neighbor through it. I think that we should seek that personally. I also think that we should do everything that we can to help our kids, those who come after us, to really be able to do those things, even when we're not. Right? We might not have the option, but we could live in such a way that we could give our children more options than maybe what we have, and help direct them in that. This is one area, having kids, raising kids. If the Lord blesses you to be able to do that, this is something that is soul enriching, when done according to God's design. And it's something that, taken together with this idea of soul enriching work, you can take ownership, responsibility, obviously, in the most intimate ways, when you have children, when you have a wife, when you have a family, when you have a husband. You can do that with these people, but then just branching beyond that, helping especially those under your care, like children, in direction as far as how do they learn how to find those things which are soul enriching, even if, by the way, it's not the most monetarily fruitful, right? Maybe they don't make as much money in their life, but they find something that fits with their nature as a creature made in the image of God. Maybe a big part of this then is just priorities. What do we put priorities on? Is our priority for our children that they make a lot of money, or is our priority that they find work that is meaningful, that is righteous, that is soul enriching. That seems to me a better priority. Well, that's all, folks. If you could help me out, rate and review this podcast, share it with a friend, go ahead and email me if you have any questions. We're out.